Hey everybody, I'm Michael Andersen, and this is Fantasy Avenue, where each week we talk about everything you need to know in the world of fantasy football. Hello, welcome back to Fantasy Avenue, your road to fantasy football victory. I'm Mikey Andersen. Today, the season is upon us. We have done the episodes where we talk about kind of who you want to draft and preview the season, but now games have started, and we're diving into more week-by-week reactions and kind of analysis. So let's get into it. This is week number 2 in review. I wasn't able to get one out for week 1, but this should be an every single week thing. I will talk about the previous week. I'll react to what kind of happened, right? The big storylines, best players, the studs of the week. I'll also be reacting to the duds of the week and what's going on there. And then I'll be talking about your top waiver ads, who you're going to want to target coming into the next week after their performances. And finally, go over some injury news to finish off the episode, just so you know kind of what your team is looking like coming into next week. So let's start it off first with my reaction to last week. Holy cow, that Ravens-Dolphins game. That's all. I mean, that is what I'm going to be talking about. That was crazy. Tua Tagovailoa, 6 touchdown passes in a come-behind victory to beat the Baltimore Ravens. 6 touchdown passes for 469 yards, and he's not even the top-scoring fantasy quarterback in that game. That's Lamar Jackson, the best quarterback of Week 2, who scores in a regular PPR, regular scoring setting league. He scores 41.62 points. 318 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 119 rushing yards, and 1 rushing touchdown. I mean, that is crazy. Those two quarterbacks combined for almost 80 points. Like, when I say that, in one game, there was 80 points scored from the quarterbacks. That's just crazy. Other top guys that was really interesting. I have Jalen Hurts in a league. I'm seeing a pattern. Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts. We have Josh Allen. Running quarterbacks do really well, and I've talked about that a lot during the draft time, but I mean, this is just securing it in my brain. If I'm going to draft a quarterback, it's going to be a running quarterback. I'm not going to I think I'm done with the days of drafting Tom Brady. I'm going to be 100% honest. That dual threat ability combines a good probably 25-point game by Lamar Jackson. Let's see what his stats were. 318 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's a great game for a quarterback. And then you add on 119 yards and a touchdown on the ground, which is a good game for a running back. That compatibility and the ability for a quarterback to do that is just absurd. Same with Tua. He's not so much of a runner, but when somebody throws 6 touchdown passes in a game, yeah, it's going to score some points. Unfortunately, I had him on my bench in a league due to his 13.8-point performance a week ago. I had Tom Brady, and I'm like, oh, this is easy. I might have just missed Tua's. I mean, I definitely did. I missed Tua's best game of his career, and hopefully it's not the only best game of his career, but we'll have to see. Other notable reactions. Let's see. I'm just going to talk about some teams, I guess, for a second. Some games that really caught my eye. The Lions, where did they come from? They have Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is just one of the most value picks I've seen so far this year. He's the number 3 ranked receiver on NFL Fantasy. The Lions are a contender all of a sudden. Like, they're actually contending and winning games and scoring points. This is huge. I'm not a Lions fan, but as a Lions supporter, that's massive. I love that. It was an interesting weekend. Some crazy upsets like in the Raiders game. Kind of just an off week for a lot of teams. The Indianapolis Colts, once again, 24-0 against the Jaguars. They lost. Like, there's some teams, and the Broncos, I mean, they beat the Texans by 7 points, but that was one of the ugliest games I've seen Russell Wilson play. The throws he missed, like there's some stuff to clean up in around the league coming into this next week. So I'm interested to see what happens with these like good teams like the Broncos and Colts who are not playing great, and these kind of so-so teams like the Lions and the Dolphins who are balling out. Dolphins are 2-0, I believe, aren't they? I mean, this is incredible. Okay, so that's kind of my reaction. This is what we'll do. What'll happen every single week. I'll talk about my highlights first before I get into anything else. Just like, wow, that was awesome. Again, one more. Last one. I forgot about this. Just popped up. The Jets score 31-30 against the Browns. The Jets are, I don't know what's going on with the kind of bad teams in the division. And that makes it hard for me as a person who is drafting defenses, right? Because I'm drafting defenses that I am assuming are playing against bad offenses. I didn't pick the Browns, but if you follow that strategy, somebody could have picked the Browns thinking, oh, they're playing the Jets. Then the Jets put up 41 points. Like, there's a lot of like bad teams doing good and good teams doing bad, and that makes it hard to draft or to pick defenses off the waiver wire. It makes it a little difficult. Now, we're on to the studs of the week. I touched on them a little bit, but I'll just go down the list of the top scorers at each position, and I'll touch on who I haven't really yet. Quarterback, we have Lamar, Tua, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, and Carson Wentz, then Jared Goff and Joe Flacco. So usually I'll just do top 5, but with Carson Wentz at 5, Jared Goff at 6, and Joe Flacco at 7 for this week, those are 3 quarterbacks that are just coming out of the blue. It's interesting. Maybe not somebody you want to necessarily pick up, but it's interesting to watch them and see how their season progresses, especially Carson Wentz, because he's playing different than he has in the past. Like, he has 2 consistent games. They're throwing the ball a ton in that offense. He's getting a ton of yards. He's still making mistakes. He's got 3 picks through 2 games, but he has 650 yards roughly this year so far through 2 games. Like, they are chucking the ball. So it won't be a bad decision to watch Carson Wentz. Running backs, who do we got? Nick Chubb, number 1 overall scorer, followed by Aaron Jones, Tony Pollard, Austin Eckler, and Christian McCaffrey. Good to see Christian McCaffrey getting some points again. That's exciting. Austin Eckler, good week. Tony Pollard, man, what a week he had. I don't know. It's hard. He scored 4.2 in the first week and 19.8 the second week. It's hard to know kind of what he's going to do. It's all just depending on what he can do because he's not getting the volume. He only got 9 carries and 4 catches against the Bengals, but he still scored 19.8 points. It's just like what he can do. He had 4.8 yards per carry in that game, and he got 4 catches for 55 yards. So I don't know what the average is there, but it's very good. Like, I don't know why Dallas sees that and doesn't give them the ball more. So we'll see. Another guy to keep an eye on. I have him in the league I'm looking at right now, and I'm not starting him this week. I'm starting Curtis Samuel over him in the flex spot. Curtis Samuel had a really good week. I think he's in the top receivers, so we'll probably talk about him. But Tony Pollard is a guy you'll keep your eye on. Moving to wide receivers. The top 5, let's see. Yeah, Curtis Samuel was down around the 10 area. My top 5 for this week, Stephon Diggs. Huge game against the Titans, 41-7, right? Stephon Diggs is showing this year. He is a number 1 receiver, and he's showing that he should be talked about in these talks with Justin Jefferson and Cooper Kupp. He shouldn't just be forgotten about as a really good receiver. He's showing that he needs to be talked about in the upper tiers. Number 2, Tyreek Hill. Great game for him. I mean, holy cow. Like, the plays he was making, same with Jalen Waddle. The plays, because Jalen Waddle is number 3. The plays they were both making, the speed, like, I've never seen speed be more important, I don't think, in a game than when those 2 were playing. Each of them scored over 40 points. And that Baltimore Ravens defense, it was kind of on its heels. Kind of thought it had the game in the bag, I think. It was basically like they were just running 40s. Like, who could run the fastest 40-yard dash and catch a ball at the end and then do a touchdown dance? It's kind of how that game went for those 2. Number 4, Amon-Ra St. Brown and Cooper Kupp at number 5 to round it out. The top 5, this is really interesting. The top 5 this week, Stephon Diggs, Tyreek, Jalen Waddle, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Cooper Kupp. In the overall top 5, Stephon Diggs is number 1, Cooper's number 2, St. Brown's number 3, Tyreek's number 4, and Jalen Waddle's number 5. So every top 5 this week had such a big game that it boosted him into or kept them into the top 5 overall. That's just interesting to me. Like, receivers balled out this week. We have 6 receivers over 30 points and only 2 running backs over 30 points. Incredible weekend by the receivers. Yeah. So, Cooper Cup's Cooper Cup. Not so much I can talk about him. 30 points is expected at this point. Moving on to tight ends real quick. We'll talk about the top 3 here because only 3 scored over 15 points. Zach Ertz at number 3 with 15.5. Darren Waller at number 2 with 17. And Mark Andrews standing out at 25.7. Again, when a game goes 38-42 like the Baltimore Ravens game did, you can expect Mark Andrews to ball out, and Lamar made good use of him. 9 catches for 104 yards and a touchdown. He had a rushing attempt, which is interesting. But yeah, consistent tight end. Let me look at where Travis Kelce was. Yeah, Travis Kelce only got 10. That's okay. I have Kyle Pitts in multiple leagues. So far, his yearly average points per week is 3.9. He has scored 3.9, 2 catches for 19 yards in each of his 2 first games. I know you guys aren't in my league, but does anybody want to trade for him? Can we make that work, NFL Fantasy? Can we get between league tradings? Because I need this guy off my team. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. It's just like the Falcons, he ranks 15th in targets over tight ends. There's 14 tight ends that are ranked above him. Guys like David Njoku, Dawson Knox, whatever, this guy, Tyler Conklin on the Jets, he's actually having a good year. But guys like that who are out being targeted more than Kyle Pitts. Like, we need to, if I was a Falcons owner, I'd be game planning how to get Kyle Pitts the ball, because the Falcons are going to have a really tough time getting like the air game going and honestly winning a game. They're not going to win a game if they play like that. They didn't win against LA, only throwing him 2 for 19. Maybe on that last drive, instead of throwing it to a chuck-up ball with Jalen Ramsey in coverage, maybe find Kyle Pitts. I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to hold him for maybe 2 more weeks, and then I'm trading him. I'm giving him a chance, but I don't have a single other tight end on my roster. I fully committed to a late round. I got really good value for him, and I was like, okay, I'm getting like a Kyle Pitts in like the 9th round. That's all I need. Good value for a tight end. And now I'm looking through the tight ends. There's really no one in this league, or probably in your league, that is in the top 10 and available. So it's going to be hard. Tight end is a rough spot for me, and that's why last week I lost my fantasy matchup by about 5 points, I believe. Jerry Jeudy, who I had, got hurt and really struggled to get anything going. He had like 3 points. Kyle Pitts had 3 points, and the kid I played, his kicker combined had I believe 10. So almost doubled 2 of my playmakers. Yeah, I'm not going to be winning if that's happening. So Kyle Pitts, if you're hearing this, turn it up. And I think that's all we got for the studs. One quick thing, defenses. Holy crap. I don't need to talk a lot about the defenses. There was a couple defenses over 20 points, but the Buccaneers defense, I have them. I'm in 4 leagues right now, and I have them in one of my leagues. They single-handedly carried me to a victory. I think I won by like 12 points maybe, and they scored 29. So if they have a good outing of 15 points as a defense, that's good. I lose that game. They get 29. They scored a defensive touchdown, only allowed 10 points, had 6 sacks, 3 picks, 2 fumble recoveries, and 3 fumbles forced. That's 30 points. They were one of the highest scoring players on my team, and that's the reason I won. So shout out to the defense. Defenses are important. Now we're gonna move to duds. Let me see if I can find a way. I think I'll probably just go down here. I have my list on NFL Fantasy of the top scorers. Maybe I'll just scroll to the bottom and look for big names. I think that's kind of what I'm going to need to do. Quarterback duds. Who do we got? Quarterbacks that are scoring 15 or lower and are a good quarterback. Tom Brady with 8.4. Again, it's hard for me to put my eggs in a basket and a quarterback who can't run the ball. It's hard for me. Ryan Tannehill. I don't know if anybody had him. This is saying, is this right? No way this is right. 0.08 points. 0.88 points, excuse me. 117 passing yards, 2 picks. Wow. Yeah, I would say that's a dud. And Russell Wilson. I'll finish the duds off at Russell Wilson. The Broncos won the game, but I was watching that game. They only had one pass that I would say is a good pass. It was their touchdown pass. They had one good, he scrambled around a little bit. He did, maybe not good pass, one Russell Wilson type pass. One pass as a Bronco fan. If I was a Bronco fan, that's what I would expect every single day from him. And as a Bronco fan, I try not to let my bias come in too much, but geez, Russell Wilson, turn it up. What was that performance? We almost went 0-2, and now we're playing San Fran this week, who has a great defense. I'm going to say I'm a bit nervous. I'm going to be totally honest. Let's go duds at the running back area. Top running backs who scored probably less than 10 points. Not a lot. Derrick Henry, really rough game. I mean, that was just an overall rough game for the Titans. Jonathan Taylor, again, their offense sucked against the Jaguars. 0 points scored. When they were down, they just stopped running him the ball, and that's, I don't know. I don't know what they need to do, because it's not like they weren't handing him the ball in the first half. They were, and it just wasn't working. So I don't really know. Another dud. This is probably my last dud, honestly. For the running backs, Ezekiel Elliott, 5.9 points. If you remember Tony Pollard, I believe he had 9 carries with a 4.9 average and a touchdown. Zeke has 15 carries for 53 yards. That's a 3.5 yard average, 0 touchdowns, and negative receiving yards. I don't know why the Cowboys are so stubborn to give him the ball more, but I would not. He's definitely going to be a guy that I'm going to say right now, do not start Ezekiel Elliott this week. There's just too many uncertainties. Let's go to receivers, and I think we'll be done for the duds, and we'll move into top waiver ads. I already talked about tight ends a bit. Kyle Pitts is the main one. I mean, he's been a dud all year. But yeah, let's go into a couple dud receivers, and then we'll talk about who you want to add on waivers this week. Let's go to under 10 points, because there's some guys I'm seeing here. DJ Moore's 13.3. That's not going to win you your week, but it's not a necessarily bad week. Jamar Chase at 10.8. That's not good. Justin Jefferson at 10.8. Both of them, you definitely expect more out of those two. I'm looking down. Devontae Adams at 9.2 after his huge week 1. Definitely was not expecting that. I guarantee every single person in the entire fantasy world that has him on the roster was starting them. So every single league had somebody get 9.2 points out of Devontae Adams. Moving down a little bit, Hunter Renfrow, I think that's the last real big name I'm seeing. Hunter Renfrow, he didn't really necessarily have a terrible game, and he's not a great player to have in fantasy this year, but that fumble, 2 fumbles in a row in overtime in that Cardinals game to lose the Raiders a game that they were winning the whole time, that's rough. They recover the first one. If you didn't see the game, they recover the first one. They throw a screen pass to him, and he just gets kind of hit from multiple directions, and the ball is out, and that's the game. The Cardinals picked it up and scored a touchdown. 2 plays in a row, fumble. Not necessarily a bad week, but yeah, it's a bad week. Okay, let's move to top waiver ads. How I'm going to do this is just basing off my, let's see. Let me look at my leagues. I have multiple. I have an 8-person league. Let me look at this one. Another 10. There's a 10-person league. So I think I'm going to base this off my 3. And I have a 12-person league. I'm going to base this off my 12-person league, because these players I kind of know for you guys will be available. I mean, if they're available in a 12-person league, they should be available to you. So I'm going to go down the list, look at guys that are available right now that I should be adding, that you should be adding coming into this week. Maybe I've already added them. Quarterback, not a lot of craziness right now. Jared Goff and Joe Flacco, two guys you want to keep your eye on that have been they're both top 10 in points this week, or this year, I mean. Honestly, I might add Jared Goff if I were you guys. I have strong quarterbacks, but I think I'm looking at my team right now. I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to add Jared Goff, and I'm going to drop Mac Jones. I have Mac Jones just to see if he is a little stronger this year than last year, but New England, there's something going on there. Jared Goff is a good pick, and he's not my starter. I have Tom Brady as the starting quarterback, so you can have a developing guy on your bench if you have a consistent starter. Let's move to running backs. Running backs that I'm seeing, I'm not, in this league at least, not seeing a lot of names. If that's the case, I might go down to my 10-person league and check that out. But, okay, let's go to receivers real quick. I'll go back there. Juju, you could add him. Valdez-Scantling, two guys on KC that have been playing not great, but well. It's hard to find good skill players to add. I moved to running backs to a smaller league just to check. J.D. McKissick, he's a good addition, possibly. Cam Akers, he's a guy. It's shaky. It's shaky. I don't know. He had 0 rushing yards in the first game. That's a mystery. He had 8.2 this game. Not a guy you want to add, I don't think, but a guy you want to keep your eye on. Maybe they're just getting him into the game slowly. I'm not really sure what was going on there, but he's a guy you want to maybe check. Christian Kirk, there is an addition for you, and I think I'm going to add him right now. 6 catches both games, 2 touchdowns in the last game, 117 yards receiving in the first game. I don't really have a weakness on my team in terms of receivers at the moment. DJ Moore, he's been struggling. I think I'm going to drop DJ Moore and pick up Christian Kirk. The Panthers quarterback situation is so just weird right now. It's kind of like the Broncos, but I believe more in the Broncos receivers. So I'm going to pick up Christian Kirk and have him as a good bench option. That's the same with Curtis Samuel. I did that last week. I'm trying to find these receivers, right? The diamonds in the rough at receiver. And I think I'm doing a good job of it so far. But it's always hard to know if it's a one or 2 week wonder, right? This early in the season, it's hard to talk about top waiver ads because you never know which of these players had a great week and then will just kind of suck the next week. Tight ends, a guy I think you should keep your eye on, Logan Thomas and Tyler Conklin. I already talked about Conklin a little bit, but on the Jets and on the Commanders, 2 guys are having strong years so far. They're guys that if Kyle Pitts doesn't do well this week, I think I'm not going to drop Kyle Pitts just yet, but I'll probably drop one of the receivers I'm taking a chance on, possibly Duvernay or Judy. Give myself, because I already have a lot of depth at receiver with Mike Williams and Jamar Chase starting. I'll probably try one of them out. So they're guys you definitely want to keep your eye on. And finally, my top defense and kicker this week that will be available in your leagues. As a Bronco fan, don't want to be biased, but I'm picking the Broncos. I'm picking the Broncos defense because they've been playing really well. San Fran is an inconsistent offense with Jimmy G now at quarterback. It's hard to know. And the Broncos have forced, I believe the Broncos are leading the league in fumbles forced, which, at least in my league, you don't have to recover it to get you points. You get like 2 points for a forced fumble and another point, or maybe it's a point for fumble forced, 2 points for fumble recovered. Anyway, they're getting sacks. They're not allowing a lot of yards. They're getting some fumbles forced. No picks yet, but we'll see. It's hard. Surtain's coming back onto the Broncos defense, Patrick Surtain. So I think that'll be a good waiver addition if you don't already have a solid defense. And kicker, I also go with the Broncos kicker. This is purely because of how much the struggle bus the Broncos offense has been. Brandon McManus is the number 2 overall kicker this year, and for good reason. For some reason, I can't tell you why. Nathaniel Hackett, the Broncos head coach, he favors putting the ball in Brandon McManus' hands over short yardage with Russell Wilson. And that could be a good decision, but in close games or games that we should be winning, I don't agree with it completely. I don't agree always kicking a field goal on 4th and 1 3 times in a game. But for fantasy purposes, grab Brandon McManus, he gets like on average these first couple of weeks 3 or 4 field goal attempts a game and at least an extra point when the Broncos can punch it in. So he's a good guy, I think, at kicker that will give you some consistent points because that's all you need. An inconsistent offense leads to a consistent kicker. Quote Mikey Andersen, 2022. I like that quote. Okay. I really do like that quote. All right. So that is my top waiver ads. That's basically all for this week. We have a little bit of injury news, and then we'll be done. Overall, a great week of fantasy football, and a lot of players to be excited about. Yeah, it's exciting. I'm excited to see where this goes. Let's look at some injuries real quick. Anybody injured kind of coming into this week 3 of football? How I'm going to do this, I'll probably find better situations, like ways of doing this in the future for all of these guys, these duds and studs. But right now I'm on just the NFL app. I'm just going to go game by game, looking at the injury reports and kind of looking for big names. First name I see, Alvin Kamara. He's not really having a great year in fantasy so far, but he's still a great fantasy player. It's something you want to keep your eye on. Gabriel Davis and Dawson Knox, both on the Bills, are questionable at the moment, and that matters not only because of their fantasy input, but also other players on the Bills, their fantasy output. Right, Stephon Diggs, it's a good sign he'll get some more targets, maybe some rushing yards for the guys in the backfield, like James Cook could get some more carries in that Bills offense. So always interesting when you're looking at fantasy. If you're really on the fence, like if you're 2 players and you're like back and forth, one thing that's you can look into is who's injured on their team. Like if they're both not injured, who around them is injured. Because if I was contemplating, let's just say this would never happen, but if I'm contemplating Stephon Diggs or Cooper Kupp and I'm dead even on both of them, in the case of their tight end and the receiver, both his other receiver across from him both being questionable, I'd go with Stephon Diggs. Not that scenario would ever happen. I'd start them both, right? But in that scenario, it is good to look at injuries around them. DeAndre Swift, questionable, as well as TJ Hawkinson on the Lions. Again, interesting. Swift had a great game last game, and the Lions are turning up. So it's interesting to look at any Lions player because not a lot of them get a lot of attention just being Lions, right? But this year there's something different about this team. And so it's good to look on, pay attention to waiver wires because there'll be Lions players, not really yet, but there will be Lions players I think that will come up as good role players in fantasy football, but they will not be picked just because they are on the Lions and they're thought of as not good by a casual fantasy player. So it's good to watch that. Out on the Raiders, Hunter Renfrow. Not that I would suggest starting him, especially after last week, but it is interesting. Questionable on the Chargers, Justin Jefferson, Keenan Allen. Not Justin Jefferson, Justin Herbert. That's interesting. Justin Herbert, that was one of the toughest showings I have ever seen out of a quarterback. Like at the end of that game, he could barely even walk or run, and yet he could have tucked down for a 3-yard first down, and he couldn't even run. And the next play, he toughs it out and throws a 30-yard laser. That's the kind of that makes me sad the Broncos don't have him as a quarterback. I'm an Oregon fan as well, and he went to Oregon, but that kind of showing, that game right there, I think you could say this guy is going to be a staple in the league for the next 10 years. And you show a person one game because it was incredible. The toughness displayed, it was awesome. We're looking for anybody else. Obviously, Dak Prescott is out still. Questionable is Michael Gallup. This is interesting. It's been the CeeDee Lamb show, and it really hasn't been a show. But Michael Gallup could be back in that offense, which will be nice for Cowboy fans at least. I don't know about fantasy players, but it looks like that's going to be about it. Not a lot of top fantasy players that are out for the whole year yet, or that are out for a long time. But injuries are something that can make or break a fantasy season, and that's why I want to talk about it, because it's not the most flashy thing, but it's not only important as who to start and who to not start, but it's important to see injury trends and how that could be affecting your league, because that's the lucky side of fantasy football, and it has a huge impact. I know in one of my leagues, my entire bench is either questionable or out this week, and in that league, I'm 1-1 right now. I'm not doing very well. I'm in like 5th or 6th in the position seating, and my entire bench is hurt. So it does have an effect, and it's something you got to keep your eye on. Okay, thank you for tuning in this episode. A bit long. Don't know if every week-by-week analysis will be this long, but super excited for this, and we'll have these coming out every week, analyzing the past week and the week to come. So thanks for stopping by. I'll see you guys in the week 3 of review, and have a good weekend.